The midsize sedan is the mainstay of most high-end luxury brands, and you can't discuss that segment without referencing the Audi A6. For decades now, the Audi A6 has been competing with the sporty BMW 5 Series and the luxurious Mercedes E-Class. This is a fourth-generation A6, C7. It debuted in 2012 and was only recently replaced by the C8. The A6 has always seemed to strike a strong balance between performance, advanced technology, and luxury. The C7 takes that precedent and pushes it even further than the C6 generation. So let's go ahead, take a closer look, and find out how exactly it does that. Here's where things get especially interesting for this model of A6 in particular. This is a 3.0T, meaning that it has the 3-liter supercharged V6 from the B8 S4. Stock numbers are around 310 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. Slightly less than that found in the B8, B8.5 S4s. However, that difference in power is very, very easily remedied because the overwhelming majority of modifications and tunes that are available for the B8 Audi S4 is also available on this generation of A6 with the 3.0T. I love how instantaneous the response of this engine is. Having owned a 335i and N55 car, I appreciate the immediacy of the power. Even with how quickly the 335 would spool up the turbo, there was still a delay. Whereas with this supercharger, it's just instantaneous torque. There's no waiting whatsoever, and wherever you are in the power band, there's power available. That is where you get that effortless pace. When you don't have to wind a car out to get the acceleration and the performance, it feels so under-stressed. In that way in particular, this drivetrain's quite luxurious. Now, a major leap forward going from the C6 to the C7 generation A6 was the replacement of the very dated, at the end of its life cycle, 6-speed ZF automatic. Now, this is the first year in 2012 of Audi utilizing that 8-speed ZF that we all know so well these days. In every way that I can think of, and probably every measurable way, the 8-speed is a significantly better transmission than the old 6-speed. At low speeds and engine load, especially in comfort, when it's shifting early, the shifts are almost completely imperceptible. In dynamic mode, or with the transmission in sport, the car does a good job of keeping you in the power band. It's not quite as telepathic as some of the modern automatics and something like PDK or a dual clutch can be when you just leave them in sport mode, but it does a good enough job where in a car like this where it wasn't equipped with paddle shifters from the factory, you can get down a road and not miss them all that much. Full throttle upshifts are very, very quick. If you do decide to shift it manually using the Tiptronic, it's more than responsive enough to give you the kind of control that you would want from a car like this on a back road. Overall, considering that this isn't an Audi S or RS product, I think that the drivetrain of this A6 3-liter T offers a ton of performance, especially considering how easily you can extract more from it. Now let's take a moment to talk about some of the technology in this A6. The car's steering, transmission, and engine response can all be adjusted through Audi's MMI system through the Audi Drive Select menu. You can either use Audi's general presets, which work pretty well, or you can make your own personal choice using the individual setting. In comfort mode, the steering is light enough that you can turn it with one finger, and it's nice to have that when you're in a parking lot or you're in a tight city street. Now in dynamic, the throttle response is sharp, the engine is more responsive, the transmission tries to hold gears for longer, and although the steering is heavier, it remains numb. Now let's take a little break and take a moment to talk about the interior of the C7, because I think for me personally, it's a major selling point. The seats are comfortable, supportive, and have a good amount of adjustment. I especially like being able to slide the headrest forward and back. This car isn't even close to being fully optioned, and there's a variety of tech options and features in here. A heated seat and steering wheel, heated rear seats, Bluetooth sound, and an intuitive infotainment system are just a couple of things. The quality and material choice is good. All of the buttons have a nice tactile feel. For a car that's almost 8 years old now, I really don't find myself wanting for any additional features, and this interior styling is still excellent. Let's go ahead, get it back out on the street, and wrap up our talk on how this thing drives. Honestly, it feels a bit lighter and smaller than it really is. On the street, it turns in quickly and it stays pretty flat even when you push it. It's not going to be competing with small sports sedans like the 3 Series or the S4. As you'd expect from a modern, big German sedan, its high-speed stability is almost too confidence-inspiring. It is unbelievably easy to cruise to double the speed limit without even realizing it. I think for most people, an A6 3-liter T like this is going to strike a nice balance between outright capability and a comfortable, smooth ride. But let's make something clear. If you are cross-shopping these with the B8 and B8.5 Audi S4, be careful. You need to drive them both because this does not drive exactly like an S4. It's a similar driving experience, but the S4 is sharper, definitely. If you're trying to hustle down a back road, you want to do any kind of light track work with them, you're going to want the S4. While the A6 is impressively capable, the S4 is genuinely fun. For a car that you may be driving long distances every day, or to supplement, say, your toy that gets left in the garage during the winter, this represents an extremely cohesive package. It does basically everything well, assuming that you're not going to be taking it to the track or autocrossing it or something. For a fast, comfortable, good-looking street car, there's almost nothing better for the money than this. You're getting one of the most powerful, reliable, and tunable engines that Audi has produced. You're getting an all-wheel drive system that has set the standard for all other high-end luxury brands. And you're getting a beautifully appointed, technologically advanced interior. Although these depreciate at unprecedented rates, it means that the value is all the better in the used market. And if the fast sedans of the past have taught us anything, it's that understated performance never goes out of style.